Okay, good morning. It's a Saturday morning. If you saw one of my other videos, you would have seen that I was handed various sections of moulding to try and recreate on a job refurb is happening on this porch. As you can see, it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So anyway, that's the shape of what I've been basically given. And originally we just thought it was, without giving it any thought, as a true arch. I then got sent some pictures, obviously started looking at the pieces of timber that we had, and it turned out that the shape was actually not a true arch, which we thought it might have been just had an initial look. What I'm basically saying is someone's done is taken a standard architrave section and another moulding section that goes underneath, and they've scarfed the back of it to form a kind of arch, which is absolutely fine. You can see in the back of here, you've got these cut marks, which allows that straight piece of timber to then be bent gradually, but it's not a true arch. So the work has now increased where the basically the whole top of the porch is going to now have to come off due to the rot. So what we decided is we will create the new moulded sections as a true arch. So if you've seen any of my other videos with curve work, I do like to keep all of this as simple as possible. I do not like to overcomplicate it, because it's stuff that people can do with very minimal tools. You don't need to go out and buy expensive jigs. You don't need to go out and buy, really expensive, equipment. Normally I'd have some sort of, they call little dogs, which I would create my trammels out of to create the arch. So with curve work, you work off one center point, and that rakes and gives you a true curve. So the distance from your pencil or your midpoint, if you're marking it out, to where your pivot point is on a curve work, is the radius, so i.e. half the diameter. So if it's a 2 meter wide circle, then that would be half of that. So it would be 1 meter from the center of your pencil to the center of your fixing, and that will give you a true arch, true circle or semicircle. With archwork, because obviously it's an arc rather than a full semicircular, you have to work out, the principle is the same in setting this out, but you have 2 points so to work off. So what you basically end up doing, so for instance this one is 535 to the top of the arc, because we have to work to that on the lead work that's on site, which will be replaced, but that is, we can't go any higher than that. So we've got 535 from the bottom of where the arc hits the top of the porch to the top of the arc. The length of the arc is 2540. So we will basically take those 2 dimensions, and we can then form our arc. Like I say, John, I used to have some little dogs, but I can't find them. But again, this is actually a good opportunity to show, with basic, some very simple tools and very simple materials, you can do arc work to create a proper arc. So all I've actually used in here is an offcut of MDF. In one end, I've drilled a hole. So this is purely for setting out, and the pencil can go through into that slot for marking the arc. And then on here, ignoring the masking tape, because this is actually an offcut of another piece of timber, I've got 2 points here, and I've got 2 points, one here and one here. So you need 2 points for each side of the curve. So you've got the top side of the arc, and the bottom side of the arc. They then run in a channel to create that arc motion. Again, it's very, very simple. All I'm doing actually this time is 2 screws. So if I just position these, so I've marked these as position 1 and position 2. So there's a reference point of what place we go. Okay, so all I've done is I've basically put a screw in position 1 and a screw in position 1. So the furthest point from where the pencil goes in to position 1 at the furthest point is half of the width that we wanted. So that gives us half of our position. The closest one is the distance from the edge of the screw to the centre of where our pencil is this 535 that we mentioned earlier, from here to the top of the arc, because you don't need to split that. So what you end up doing, that gives us 2 points to create the arc. Then what we've done, again, is very, very simple. I'm going to bring it down here. We have the main board here, which is what we're going to draw a template on. We then have some rips of MDF, 4 rips. And if we bring it in closer here, you can see there is a channel running in here, like so. So there's a channel coming away from the board, and then there's a channel that runs along the length of the board. So the reason for that is basically when you run the jig or the trammel, you can buy really expensive ones of these, but a piece of MDF does the same thing. So this trammel sits, those screws sit in that trammel, and they can spin as you need them to, like so. So we've got one fixing point here and one fixing point here, as it works through that groove that we created just by purely spacing off the main board that we're working on and the guide. And that, as you can see, as it comes to the centre point, that will be our 635, and then as it continues, that comes back up at the outer channel, and that creates our outside arc. So again, it comes through, past the centre point, and correct. So it works on that trammel. It is very, very simple. And like I say, you don't need to spend a fortune on jigs and, you know, specialist equipment. You need a few bits of MDF, a few screws. There is specialist stuff you can buy, but I don't have it. So I don't have it with me. So we have created this trammel. So if we come here, like so, you can see that action a bit better on this side, where that, say, 2 screws there and there, sit in that groove, the 2 grooves, and that gives you that action. So all we do, take your pencil. The principle will be the same when we come to do the actual route the jigs. You bring it so the jig, the first screw is in line with this groove. You put your pencil in, and you draw the arc like so, and as it goes past the centre point, the furthest screw, the closest screw, sorry, continues in the groove. The furthest one is now at the bottom of that groove. But obviously, as we bring that round, I'll go here, you'll see that bottom screw now comes back up the arc, up the groove, as we're forming the arc, comes all the way around until we have basically created the arc. So that is now drawn on there. Can you see? Yes, so you can see the arc, and that is a true arc all the way around. So then to do the inner part of the arc, we move our screws from position 1 to position 2, And on this case, it's 155mm back set, because that's the overall size of the arc. Again, put it back in the groove. Like so. So again, that screw goes back into the centre point. We can then do the same process again. Down the arc. Like so. It comes out. A little bit of rubbish in there. Okay. So that has now created our two lines, which is 155mm, which creates our proper arc. So that now we'll double check the measurements on that, and once we're happy that that is set out correctly, which we'll double check everything else, we then can create a router template of that, so we can check it on site, make sure it all works, and yeah, then we can start making the curve work. Seems we're having a lot of runner curve work or arc work at the moment, or shaped work, which is nice. Very labour intensive, like I said before, but it is very rewarding once the work is done. Hope you found that useful. But yeah,